So I came across this article, and to start with, what I'm going to do is read you the most popular comment, best rated. So somebody called Optimally Optimistic. Yeah. How many people, how many more people need to be killed before the government bring in a law to prohibit the carrying of any weapon, guns, or blades of any description? Think about that sentence. Carrying them, never mind using them, which is what's going to happen, really, should carry a minimum of 20 years inside, in brackets, no parole. Remember, the parents have to live with this for the rest of their lives. Could you or would you want to? Question mark. Now, somebody replied with government. How about parents and the police? Well, when I struggle with this is, and I remember meeting somebody a few years ago, in a pub, funnily enough, and they'd literally just got off work. They were working through an agency in the catering industry, and the expectations were that wherever they were, their skills were needed, they had to bring their own knives. When it comes to chefs, and I don't have a huge amount of experience on that, but I've known many over many years, they don't like other people using their knives, especially how they, for example, use what's called a steel to sharpen their knives. And some of these knives can be extremely expensive. Now, if you're working in an agency, so therefore not full-time in one place, you can go from place to place, or say you're there for a few days and you leave these very expensive knives. They can disappear. Hence the reason why, apparently, a number of people in that profession prefer, and I've seen, like they've got, 5, 6, whatever knives in a sort of, it's not so much of a case, but something that contains them, and it's the tools of their trade. And the arrogance of, just give them all at least minimum 20 years inside. Well, imagine somebody happens to work as a ghillie or whatever else, and at the very least, they need a pocket knife or something along those lines as part of what they do for a living, blah, blah, blah. I mean, oh, God. I mean, when you're dealing with psychopaths, now you could say, well, Scott, there's a bit of mockery and, there is a bit of banter. John Wick, the pencil story, yeah? Killed 3 men with a pencil, yeah? And for a psychopath, I would argue, it's true, You can pretty use most things to, kill people. And who's paying for this, by the way? This genius. Yeah, just give them a minimum of 20 years inside. What, are you paying for that? And how much is it a year? 40, 50, 60, 70? What is it per individual, per year? Yeah, seriously. I don't think that's the bloody solution. I really don't. I think the bloody death penalty is the solution for psychopaths. Because, bang them up for 10, 15, 20 years, they're still psychopaths. Now, people say, well, when it comes to the death penalty, it's for some, they say, well, it's not been a deterrent. Well, when you look at historically, it fucking well has, yeah? In fact, you have to question why they stopped. Oh, there are examples where, well, justice was certainly not served. But when it's bang to rights, you have them bang to rights, yeah? I would argue there's a difference, seriously. Because you're now dealing with people who absolutely think, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'll be banged up for maybe, a decade or two. I mean, none of these people are normal anyway. You're not dealing with sanity, right? Let me go further here. Let me tell you something about this one. So the final words of a 21-year-old hunted down by machete-wielding thugs were, Tell my mum I love her, as he lay dying in a pool of blood on the ground. Chilling CCTV footage shows Bailey Atkinson being pursued by the Yobs, who hacked him to death with machetes and a Rambo knife in Walsall, West Midlands last year. So Bailey had been enjoying a night out with a friend when he was chased and killed by the gang in the early hours of January the 28th, 2023. CCTV shows a taxi dropping the pair in the town centre moments before a car swerves towards them. The pair leapt out the way, and Bailey told his friend to run before sprinting along the high street. So the footage shows him repeatedly jumping out the way of a Toyota, or does it matter the name? The cars. But so the killers cornered Bailey on Lower Hall Lane and drove straight at him, but he managed to escape. The gang, all aged between 15 and 18 at the time, encircled him further along the high street, where 6 of them got out the cars. Bailey was then hacked to death with weapons including, X amount of centimetre long Rambo knife and a machete. Before the gang sped away, one of them even tried to take a photo of Bailey as he lay bleeding on the ground. The 21-year-old then told, I'm going to die, tell my mum I love her. The gang of 7 thugs had met earlier in the supermarket car park where they planned to scour the streets looking for Bailey. Look at these little scumbags. Do you think 20 years is going to make any bloody difference? They're still going to come out as bloody psychopaths who have had an education in jail at our expense. But then you've got these public-private partnerships, and who stands to gain? Well, various corporations, who are incentivized to have bums on seats or bums in cells, of which they make capital out of, when the solution is capital punishment. You're never going to change these scumbags. Doesn't matter if they're 15. If they're psychopaths, they're never going to bloody well change. What do people think is happening in jails? Do you think the righteous are in there talking to them on a daily basis so that when they get out, they're just going to be one wonderful individual? Oh, come on. Seriously. We live in a business. And it's about time we grew up and said, do you know what? Only a matter of a few decades ago, even although occasionally something like this would happen, it was like so rare. Now you've got gangs of these tossers who, I'll be bonding with other psychopaths. They don't give 2 shits. Look at these soulless little shites. Put them to sleep. Seriously. Fuck. Honestly, the arrogance of the do-gooders, it gets me. It truly does. Anyway, another comment. These gang fights happen every weekend where I live. It happens so often that I park my car 5 minutes walk away because every Saturday morning the police have taped off the area for evidence and I can't get my car out to go to work. Much more sense. Unfortunately, until we reinstate the death penalty, and by the way, you notice you can't even see the word death in the Daily Mail because it's a banned word. So your comment, your even although you may be talking very, very reasonably, doesn't get through. So death penalty, it will continue. Lawless UK with no consequences. Yeah, because, look at them. How many of you have you seen them in jail? And let's face it, a lot of them, and this is a fucking fact, by the way, they, they seem to get on without the need of the physicality of the opposite sex. If you were asking me. In fact, if you look at a lot of organised crime, if you think that they're all heterosexual, I would beg to differ. Seriously. So, the consequences ultimately are minimal for them. And all of a sudden they have no responsibility while being in at least in circumstances where they get 3 square meals a day. All the rest of it, bonding with other fucking psychopaths at our expense. Seriously. I don't give a shite. There was 4 who were over a certain age, but at least, apparently, at least 2 or 3 of them were about like 15, 16, whatever. Yeah. So you don't get to see their pictures or their names. But I'm sorry. They still need to be, I would argue, put down. Seriously. You know, why fucking how much are they going to cost per individual? And when they get out, they're still bloody psychopaths. Are you kidding me here? And by the way, if they started realizing more and more that, you know what, actions truly have consequences, yeah? You're not going to have this romanticism of being, well, because remember, the media, movies over the last 20 plus years, but more so in the last 20, of the anti-hero and they're all cool and yeah, okay, but they're just misunderstood and blah, blah, blah. And repetition, 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 yeah? If they realised that they were facing the end of a rope, for example, I can assure you, these scumbags, because they're always in groups, because they're not fucking characterful, yeah? They're not individuals, yeah? They're like rats. That's what they fucking are, yeah? And a lot more people are starting to think, well, yeah, we really should. I mean, remember, there has been situations historically where people have been put to death who were not guilty, yeah? But if you've got them bang to rights, then the outcome should be the death penalty, without a doubt. What did I say? Put them to sleep. They made their choice. Yeah? And I'll speak to you soon.